recording. Okay, I'm recording now. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you about your general profile, how where you work, what do you do for life in general, what do you study, and then we are going to make more like specific questions about the sector, the retail thing, the fruit, the idea, if you like it or not, and that's the whole interview in general terms. Okay, and
Mm.
well, let's start then. Can you introduce yourself for me, please?
Sure. So my name is Filip Szczesny. I have a business background, and I currently work in Findus, which is a huge brand in Europe, who's mainly concerned about selling frozen products,
Mm-hmm.
both to the retail sector and to the more food service sector, which is hotels, restaurants, and canteens.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Previously, I worked also for a retail. I did a project as a consultant for a huge service, no food retail company in Norway and in the Baltics
Mm-hmm.
in Europe. Before that, again, I was occupied with working for a salmon farming company.
Mm-hmm.
So to sum up, I've been working in the food industry and different parts of the value chain.
Oh, great, great. So, how much time or how much years in total have you been working on this sector?
So, like in total, the food, so maybe 5 years, and I maybe the uh, yeah, maybe 1.5 years in the more like specifically food retail and food service sector.
Okay, so you as a Norwegian have noticed a change. Well, you're Norwegian or you are from other
Yes,
country, but I mean
yeah,
you live in Norway,
I'm
but
born in I'm born in Oslo, Norway. My parents are from Poland, but so I'm both Polish and Norwegian.
mm-hmm. Okay, so you you live in Norway your whole life, or you've been just some recent years there?
Uh, s- yeah, I lived most of my life in Norway, but also lived in Denmark and France and Switzerland a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, but mainly Norway. That's true.
Okay, okay. So you are like really experienced with this. You're really into this market of the retail sector. Okay, so you think that recently is there a trend for consuming a more natural or healthy food, and how much since which year or how many years this trend have been increasing?
Definitely, I think there's like interest and trend for having more healthy,
Mm-hmm.
and probably like the one without sugar has been around quite a long time. Uh, what I see, at least in our industry, is like more towards maybe vegan stuff as well, and kind of natural this way, so away from maybe using like antibiotics in meat or fish and having it. So I would say like the like non-sugar and healthy has been there for a long time. What's I would say this more shifting is more to like this sustainable part. So you look at kind of the whole value chain of maybe the production, how it is, and if it's labeled correctly, and to the end part of the value chain, which is kind of maybe more uh, like a healthy product. So it's both. I think there's consumers are more interested in having a healthy and sustainable product.
products in general. So and the government had take an important part of this. I mean, they made regulations or they made some campaigns or something like that to make this healthy consumption like really in the mind of the people, or it was just a natural development of the society.
I think it's both. I know in Norway specifically, there's been in the politics, it's been discussed to impose a tax on sugar,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it was or it is implemented, but it's not a big tax. But I mean, I think that proves one point. But mainly, it's I think this is a kind of response of maybe consumers that they are aware of the non-sugar products and wanted, so politicians see that okay, this is actually an opportunity to have a tax, and it's so, and you can play it because it's healthy and stuff. But why can they do that? Because already people are thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and which products they use instead of sugar or start using instead of sugar to change it? Because I mean, at some point maybe people use sugar and sometimes and they try to change this habit to something else. So I mean, I don't think they can go from sugar to no sugar directly, or most of the people did it.
uh well, there's been like I think I'm not sure who started the first, but at least my in my knowledge, like Coca-Cola started like with a not like a diet Coke, and what I've seen is maybe like replacement of, I think it's aspartame, and they're using like stevia and more like natural products, which replaces the sugar and have the same sweetness.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, I don't know, in when not sure, when there's a juice, I think people are more I mean more okay with because fruits have sugar, so
Mm-hmm.
they're more okay with having drinking juice
Mm-hmm.
with sugar, but of course they're concerned about that shouldn't be like added sugar.
Mm-hmm. So, well, actually, I was going to go to the part of the juice, but yeah, about the juice specifically, people usually prefer preparing their own juices, or they prefer maybe buying something if they know it's natural in a supermarket or something like that.
uh, so I think in Norway, there are less people are preparing less fresh juice themselves,
Mm-hmm.
uh, probably because there's less access to fresh fruit. What I've seen, like what is people are doing a lot, is to doing like more smoothies from, so it's not really fresh fruit in that sense, but there maybe I mean, you have a fresh juice kind of, you make it yourself, and you're using then like frozen berries or fruits, which you can mix. That people have done like a lot, or different, maybe a mix of not only smoothie, but maybe some shake
Mm-hmm.
after working out, so maybe with some proteins as well,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
And
or even a milkshake, but that would be the with the sugar part maybe.
okay, so you can find these shakes or these smoothies in the supermarkets or something like that, or they prepare themselves.
There's some they prepare both, and then you can find some in the supermarket as well.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've noticed, for instance, I just came back from Spain, for instance, is in the supermarket, there's quite normal. You have a like a fresh like orange juice machine with
Mm-hmm.
oranges, and you can just
Mm-hmm.
make it yourself in the supermarket
Mm-hmm.
and have it fresh and bring it home. that doesn't exist in Norway.
Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't know that. Here, actually, we have one of those machines here. Well, we have some. We have some. Interesting. So, okay, and what about, for example, where can I find this juice or these smoothies or these shakes apart from the supermarkets? Is there are a specific retails or specific markets in which they prepare, they have, or they sell uh, like organic fruit, or you can find organic fruit like in any market in Norway.
Yes, so there's some organic cafes
Mm-hmm.
which sell different products or fruit or salads with vegetables, and they would also have fresh juices.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a specific, a quite successful company which is Danish. It's called Joe and the Juice.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've expanded outside Europe as well. And it's basically a cafe, but the whole brand or kind of their main product is a juice cafe.
Mm-hmm.
So you come in and order a juice. Of course, they have coffee and sandwiches and other things, but the whole brand kind of started around the juice.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you have that several of those in Norway. And like first thing I would think of, like if I want to have a juice, then I would go there.
Mm-hmm. So,
Uh,
and they prepare it in the coffee, or they have like bottles with the juice already prepared. They import these bottles. I mean, the idea is something more like a really, you go buy a bottle of this juice and just
mhm.
drink it, right? So I
Yeah.
don't know
Okay.
where
So that
where
would
you
be
can find.
different. That would be like a cafe with
Hmm.
they have fruits which they cut and put it in a machine and make a juice.
Hmm.
Uh, so in the supermarket, I think there's less kind of fresh juice products, and I think mainly people in Norway, they drink orange juice or apple juice. It's like the two types, and then you have other types, but it's kind of other, all fruits of other.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but Norwegians, they always drink juice in the morning.
Oh,
Very,
and that's
very often, like milk and juice
hmm.
in the morning.
Wow, and I don't know how to say it in English. That this flavor that it's acid. That's the correct word. They prefer acid taste.
Uh, Not necessarily, but I mean, it's a bit more acid. It's like orange juice,
Hmm.
and well, apple juice can be a bit less acid, but mm,
Um, if I wanted to, I mean, if I wanted to explore, because I've been doing some research, and I found that a lot of the companies, or well, the really big part of the companies which sell this juice in Norway are from Norway, actually. So I don't know if there is any regulation from the government to, I mean, about the importing of some products, or maybe I don't know if there is only that people from Latin America didn't export or haven't had the idea to export some products to Norway. I don't know if you know something about it.
mm, I'm not sure this is the reason, but I can tell you one hypothesis.
Hmm.
So in Norway, the competition of between the retailers is quite I mean, it's limited in that in the sense of that there are not many players, but there's strong competition between them, and
Hmm.
so they're quite powerful. So Norway have a little bit different taxes than Norway. I don't think that not specifically for fruit necessarily, but um, uh, there's this one big retailer which is vertically integrated, so they also have um, ownership on the biggest importer of fruit,
Hmm.
which is called Bama. And I think it might be I mean, you have to play along with them. I think it's might be difficult to import uh, without them, because they have quite strong strong
They're really.
ownership. And then the Norwegian market is, I mean, it's a quite small country, so maybe some of the fruit, I mean, people would, if you want to import something from Peru, maybe, often more attractive markets are I mean, Spain and
Hmm.
Germany, which is bigger markets, while Norway is quite far in the north, so logistically it's more difficult, and then it's not that big market, and maybe
Yeah,
with the competition also there's uh, maybe
really strong.
less profitable. But on the other hand, the Norwegian market, um, I think the margins are high, so people are
Mhm.
willing to pay
More.
more for products in
Mhm.
general. So I think maybe on volume you're gonna have a less volume, but for sure higher margins than elsewhere in Europe.
Hmm. So maybe if I go with a juice, but with a of a fruit, like a really weird fruit that is not consuming in Norway, maybe it could have like a, it could be like a trend, right? It could be like really appreciated there
I
because
think
which.
so, yeah, because people are concerned about having it healthy, and
Mm,
people want to explore. They travel a lot. They like to travel, so if they taste some fruit in which they have never had in Norway before, I
yeah.
think they're willing to try. And often I've thought about it myself. I can speak for myself on this, but I'm I'm I I thought many times, like, when you're really thirsty, the first thing you think of, maybe except water, is that you want to have some of the soda, so like Coca-Cola, Fanta,
Mm,
which is not healthy,
mhm,
um, and it's not so good for thirst. And
mhm,
and the access of fresh fruit or fresh juice would I think has a lot of kind of potential, because actually sometimes I feel like there's not much to choose from. And then, okay, you can have hot drinks, but that's when you want to have it cold.
yeah.
I mean, there are less options. And then, of
Mhm.
course, you can have alcohol too. But if you want to have a non-alcoholic, it's not that much there, actually. I
Mhm.
think, which is also like healthy.
And which fruits are produced in Norway? Like are
Apples,
native from Norway? Apples in general?
apples. Uh, there's a lot of berries, some berries, but I think the like main production of fruit is apples in Norway. It's limited to that. Pears probably.
Hmm.
Mm, uh, I don't, not oranges. It's quite limited.
Yeah, it's
It's a
quite
bit
limited.
different in Peru.
Yeah, here we have a lot of fruits that I haven't even tried once in my life. So yeah, definitely it would be a really interesting. Actually, we choose Norway. We were well. I saw some statistics that which so we're talking about this trend of consuming like really healthy food, right? And obviously, Scandinavian countries are the ones that are the top in the trend of this trend, right? So
Mhm.
we choose Norway actually. Well, there was Switzerland too and other countries. I don't remember actually, but we choose Norway actually because I could talk to you maybe. I could talk to Carolina to ask some things. But the general idea is that if there is a trend of consuming something like really healthy. And I know that you guys like are really interested in some of the things we have here in Latin America, like these
Hmm.
weird fruits with different
Hmm.
flavors that I mean I'm sure you are aimed to try, right? So maybe we imagine that maybe a juice of some any fruit like really weird, like the name I told you, right? Or Yacon, I'm sure you haven't heard about it anyone in your life. So
Uh,
maybe it will be really interesting and attractive to you. But I wanted to make sure that that idea like go for the right path, right?
no, I think you're definitely on the right path, and I think it's good to. I mean, when you launch a product, I think it's important even before launching that just to have feedback from anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I think your option choosing Norway is a good one.
Yeah, and what about the regulations in general? I mean, you know something about the importing stuff, or I mean, Norway is an open market, right?
Yeah, so Norway is a part of it's called the EFTA agreement
Mm-hmm.
or EEA, so the European Economic Area. So
Mm-hmm.
although it's not in the European Union, it has many of the same. It's the same kind of area of trade, and uh, and it's so it's kind of outside the European Union in a little union called EFTA,
Mm-hmm.
which is it's called European Free Trade Association, I think. And normally, EFTA has more or less the same agreements, bilateral agreements as the European Union. So I know it has an agreement with Peru
Mm-hmm.
because during my studies looked on that, and it's
Yeah.
mainly it's a lot about agreements on imports on fruit,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure the details of the kind of what fruits are
Mm-hmm.
if there's completely free
Permitted,
trade
right?
or how does it work, but I know there's a bilateral agreement, and I cannot tell you specifically on fruits. I would say it's not much. I mean, I would assume it's not much tax on that because it's not a competing product,
Mm-hmm.
so we don't have that. So I don't think it would have unless there's some production in the European Union. So I don't know if a country produces oranges, it might be like tax on oranges also to Norway. But for
Mm-hmm.
I think many of the different fruits, maybe not. But I can tell you one thing about like import tax is very specific to each product. It's very hard to have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know that through like when we're launching some products at where I work, it's hard to tell. I mean, the ingredients in each, the components of in ingredients of the product we're launching is very dependent on what ingredients we have to kind of assess if there's going to be a customs on that or not.
Great. So I will have to read each regulation for each specific fruit I want to export, well, import there, but export from here to there to know which taxes and regulations works with it, right? And
Yeah,
you
it
know
might be.
any Latin American uh, juice or something like we want to do, but from Latin America there in Norway or a specific I don't know market or for example, I've read that there's a company or there's a product. I'm not sure it's a company, but for the name, it sounds like real Latin America called El Dorado.
Yeah,
You've heard about
I
it?
know.
What is that? Because it
So
says it's juice, but I don't know what kind of juice it is.
are they selling juice?
That's what I found, but I'm not sure if that. Well, actually, I found it in a database, but after that, I do some research, and they use do those uses for vapes or something like that, I think.
So I know the Eldorado, but they have normally. I mean, uh, it's a kind of low cost brand of one of the retailers.
Okay.
But it might be more Eldorado. So I'm not sure they have juice. Actually, I thought they would have other stuff, but I can have a look quickly on the internet now.
Hmm.
But this is like a. Also, I think if you want to launch something in Norway, it could be good to like also because of the competition to team up with one of
The market.
the retail companies, because
Hmm.
uh, um, what is happening like increasingly in Norway now, like we see that in the company where I work in, is that they try to vertically integrate. So they don't want to be just selling to the end consumer. They want to have their own brand.
Hmm.
So what we're seeing, for instance, in the company I work with, which is called, it's by the way called Nomad Foods in Europe,
Hmm.
and the brand is in like particularly in Norway and other places as well, but it's called Findus. So has the brand is Findus, but the company, like the big company and owners are Nomad Foods, which are on the New York exchange. So, and what we're seeing, we're selling to the wholesalers,
Hmm.
who's one of the wholesalers are the retail companies, or actually many of them. And what they're increasingly are asking us to do is, instead of, they want our products, but they want their label. So they're asking us to produce it in our factories,
Hmm. But with their brand.
like pretty much the same product but with their label.
Hmm.
And um, so they're kind of going upwards in the value chain. Um, and I think in many ways, if you want to launch a product,
Hmm.
you it's important for you to have the distribution network which they own,
Hmm.
and um, like a teaming up with them, then they
And
can distribute your product.
which retailers would you recommend to team up?
Uh, I would go to all of them to ask, but I can tell you the biggest one is called Norgesgruppen. I can write it to you later.
Yeah, please.
Um, uh, they're biggest, but also biggest because they own a larger part of the distribution network, and that's quite valuable. So they have the wholesaler, they have the logistics of everything, and they're actually also owning uh, the wholesaler or the import company called Bama, which imports fruits as well. So I mean, I would maybe start there, but also the others probably are also more eager to have a deal because
Yeah.
they're competing with this with the big one.
Mm-hmm. No, what you tell me was really interesting because actually, if I produce it, put it in a bottle, and they put their brand and they sell it, it's easier to go to start in this market, right? Like,
Yes. So maybe I think it could. I would look into like both options to actually sell your own product and brand, or just the content and with their brand.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, I think those were the whole questions. Really, really thank you so much, Philip. It was a really good conversation. I think this will help a lot to my work or to the project I'm doing in university. So, well, thank you so much.
Great. It's great to hear. And just don't hesitate if you have any follow-up questions or anything. If you, I don't know, if you watch it late, like this video later, and don't understand anything, something, or just let me
Mhm.
know. Just
Okay.
let me know. Also, I can ask, like, if you have specific questions. I work with the sales
Mhm.
director, so which has like much more experience than me. So maybe
Mm,
if you have specific question, I can ask them as well.
for sure. Thank you so much, Philip. Really, thank you. Have a nice night then. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a nice day. Good luck.
Bye bye, Philip.